Today I'm with a very good friend and client, Christine Mathieu, who is a financial life planner. And we are going to discuss the topic of money and consciousness, what Christine offers, and how working with me has changed her business. So first I would like to say welcome, Chris. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today.
I'm excited to get right into all of this content. Why don't you start by explaining to us how you became a financial life planner and what it is that you do.
Okay. So I'm going to actually, I'll take you backwards, to where I first started in the, financial industry, and then I'll bring it up to where I am, today. It was roughly 20 years ago when I first got into the financial industry as an insurance agent as well as an investment advisor. And it was probably, let me think here. Back in 2008 when we had when we went through the economic crisis and the market crash, I had begun to notice that the conversations that I was having with my clients were radically different than they were before. No one wanted to talk about what the latest and greatest investment product was or insurance product was. They didn't care to see any, retirement projections or even how they were going to fund, their child's education. The conversations really were more about how they were going to manage their emotional responses to what was going around them at that time. Because if you remember back during the market crash, there was a tremendous, amount of fear. And people, were watching their not their bank accounts, but they were watching their investment accounts, the account values, continued to drop, and it sent them into a panic. And if you were watching TV shows at that time, it didn't matter what station, you were on, it was all about fear and panic in the markets and in the economy. So I had begun to realize that I was no longer a financial advisor in the traditional sense, that I had become more of a coach or a guide, right? Helping my clients to create a greater sense of self-awareness so that they themselves could better manage their emotional responses to what was going on with their money, as well as how that was all impacting the other areas of their life. So at the time I was an investment rep with the local bank, and because of what I was sensing, the changes in my role, I knew that there was something more out there. I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew that I had to leave my current environment in order to find it. So that's what I did. It was just over a year ago. I went independent. Within about a couple months, I found financial life planning. And then at the beginning of this year, I opened my own place, which is the Mathieu Center for Financial Wholeness. So, you want to know what financial life planning is?
Yes, please, share.
Okay. All right. So financial life planning, simply put, it's a holistic, life-centered process that focuses on increasing your sense of financial well-being as well as life satisfaction. All right. It helps you to clarify what your inner core values are, and it also guides you in defining and designing your version of the rich life.
Awesome. And what type of people do you typically help?
Oh my gosh, it's really beneficial for just about anyone, but most people that I tend, to work with, they just simply find themselves in a place where they want to feel better about their relationship with money. They want to be able to manage, their money more efficiently, and they want to see that their money is truly supporting the other parts of their life, and the ultimate vision, that they're working towards.
Gotcha. So when you sought me out, where were you in your business and what were you looking to accomplish?
Oh, okay. What I have noticed as well, when I went independent, how I was running my business had also changed, or at least I had a sense that there was change forthcoming. And when I say that, I know other investment advisors will know exactly what I'm talking about, but when you grow up in this industry, how you're taught to do business is very regimented. It's, you are micromanaged. Okay, there's an old term for you, right? You are detail for detail. Activity breeds activity. There's an old saying. You know, you were expected to have so many appointments, you know, every single week. You schedule 15 so that 10, you know, stick, that kind of thing. And I knew that that's just not how life really works. And I knew that there was more, how do I put this? There was more to being, you know, productive and prosperous than following the old ways. So when I sought you out, it was really so that I could better able tap into my higher consciousness, right? So that I could not just hear, but really trust my inner guide in directing me to how my business was going to be, how it was going to run, and really how the whole entire vision was going to unfold.
I love that. And what has been your experience now incorporating more consciousness into your business?
Yeah, it's so much easier. You'll probably remember, like, the first time you and I spoke, like in the first session, one of the things that I had struggled with when I would go to meditate, right, was that I could only stay there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. You know, my brain was just way overactive. And after having, I think it was even after just the first session, when you had taught me how to do to go into a self-hypnotic, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is that right? Self-hypnosis?
Self-hypnotic state, yep.
Okay. So you taught me that in the very first session. And then since then, having practiced it more, I'm able to stay there and be absolutely still and quiet for, oh my gosh, I think there's been times where I've gone as long as, you know, a half an hour. And I could probably go longer, but duty calls. So, but it's just, you know, it's a much more peaceful, you know, way to be. And I tend not to get so overwhelmed. And, you know, I've been able to release really just those old business paradigms. You know, if you've ever worked for sales managers and things like that, your bosses or what have you, managers, would have certain expectations of you relative to your production and to your activity, which what happens is you begin to assimilate that into yourself, right? You start to have those same expectations. And I've been able to release, you know, all of that and just simply go with the flow.
One of the challenges that you had mentioned when you first started working with me was in regard to confidence. And I know that the issue of questioning yourself, stepping out in a bigger way and being perceived as an expert came up. How has that shifted for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because, you know, after having been a traditional financial advisor, you know, for so many years, and then, you know, integrating my authentic self, right, you know, the emotional aspect to money and life, yeah, I felt all of a sudden I had this sense of lack of self-confidence. You know, even though I have a passion about this, And I still have all of the foundations, relative to the financial industry. But what you had helped me to do was, and again, I think it was either the first or maybe the second session together, you taught me that little trick, where I think all that I do is I just close my fist and I speak the word, confidence, and then all of a sudden what I feel, and it could be a different experience for other people, but what I feel is literally my vibration increases. I can feel it rising. It almost like starts from my toes and it goes straight through the top of my head. And that's when I know that right then and there I'm in the flow and I'm fully confident.
I love that. And just so everybody has an understanding of what you're talking about, that is an anchoring technique that we often use. So we create a hypnotic state, and in that state, what we're able to do is really amplify the feeling of confidence, or whatever that experience is, the outcome that you want to create at will. So in your case, we created this feeling, this sense of confidence and just being in your natural state of being in the flow, just being in the zone. And then we anchor that to some type of either physical movement or a color or a word or a variation of these different anchors that then become an unconscious trigger. So just like, people who love coffee or have a favorite song or love a certain smell, maybe a flower or a certain type of perfume or cologne, when you experience the smell of the coffee or the cologne, or you hear that song come on the radio, it instantaneously triggers a certain emotional state, a certain feeling. It just comes over you powerfully, instantaneously, and unconsciously. So we use that same mental process deliberately to create this ideal state. So for you, it was that sensation of confidence, feeling confident that you can create that state at will, and it will override whatever you were feeling before that.
Right. Yep, absolutely, and it works. I use it. I especially use it when I'm giving talks. When I'm speaking in front of, a group of people, whether it's a presentation or a workshop, seminar, it works beautifully.
Yes. And one thing that is so valuable that most people don't realize is that you have the ability to create these anchors on your own as well.
Right.
And those are wonderful, wonderful things to know and understand, so that you can really make your life work more efficiently and effectively for you. And for you, you've really kind of taken a lot of the information that I've shared with you and incorporated it into your life and your business, allowing you to have more foundation for growth. Does that seem like a pretty accurate statement?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. When you were just saying that, the one thing that just popped in was, and again, it's another way that I have broken away from an old how do I want to say it? An old marketing tactic. When you're in business for yourself or what have you, one of the things in order to have a thriving business is to have clients, right? People to work with, people that are going to pay you for your services. So one of the things in working with you that has helped me tremendously was the whole client attraction thing. Having me, dissolve a very old mindset, that I have to find a particular, marketplace, labels, if you will. Because I don't know if you remember, but I said, I don't know what my clients look like, exactly. Okay, yeah, maybe there's a certain net worth that I'm looking for, but to be honest with you, perhaps not. Maybe what is enough is that they have, disposable income, that type of thing. So what you had me do was focus more on connecting with the vibration of my ideal client. And when I say ideal client, it's those that where I am being my authentic self, right? Where my frequency, my vibrating, yes, where I'm feeling really good with whoever this person is, because I know that I'm truly making a difference in their life. And that is what I connect with. So when I go into that self-hypnotic or meditative state, I go in with intention sometimes of connecting with my ideal client, but on a vibrational level.
Love it. And it's very empowering to have that sense of, I don't have to put people into a box and try to make myself enjoy working with people that are not the right fit for me.
Exactly.
It's more about loving what you do and being in a flow of more abundance, the right type of clients, which really allows you to have that kind of expansive energy and growth in your business. And I can say from personal experience that when you are working with people who are not the right fit for you, it stagnates your business, it creates resentment, and that has a negative effect on the growth of your business and the financial potential. When you get out of those old scarcity patterns and some of the more quote-unquote conventional forms of business, doing business, the very mechanical and unemotional sort of planning, structuring, everything has to be so defined. Without that ability for creative expansion and growth, you get out of that and you get into a state of what works for you, because there will be some things from the old model per se that will work better for you than other things. But when you try to do something that doesn't work for you, it's like hitting your head against a wall. The harder you try to make something work for you that is not the right fit for you, the more disenchanted you become with your business, the less money that you're allowing in. It affects every area of your life and not really the best, most productive way. So it's really about getting clear on what systems, what strategies work right and good for you so that you can really take those pieces, implement them in a way that is congruent and authentic and leverages your time and your energy so that you can really maximize your revenue while feeling aligned with what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you would think that it would be an obvious thing, but it's really not, to most people, that when you're feeling good, when it feels right, then that's the direction you move in. And when when you start to feel like a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of panic or resistance, or you just plain don't feel good about something, then you know that that's a direction you should be moving away from.
Right. And I would like to throw in one little caveat there, because sometimes what's coming up is an old limiting belief that we now have an opportunity to shift and let go of. And there is actually a way to tell when it's a limiting belief that's creating resistance versus when it's really truly something that's not the right fit for you. And it's a very subtle difference, but we all have the ability to tell the difference. And again, it comes down to being honest with the way that it makes us feel. So we can ask ourselves questions that give us a greater sense of clarity, and it really helps us to eliminate that time waster, the energy waster of struggling to make something work that we're not in alignment with.
Right.
So I'd love for you to share with everyone where they can learn more about you and what you do, because what you do is so valuable, and there's so many people out there. They know that they want to do something with their money. they know that they need to address their money in a different sort of way, a more congruent, conscious sort of way. But there's not a lot of people out there right now that are in that kind of mindset, at that place where you are, where you can really connect with these people and help them to do it in a way that is right and good for them. So can you share what's the URL to your blog and where people can learn more about you and what you do?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm currently creating a website, but you're right, I do have a blog. So the easiest way to find me is at www.thatmoneygirl.com. Okay, so it's www.thatmoneygirl.com. And then on the About page, you will find more contact information as well, email address, phone number, so forth.
Great. And also want to give you an opportunity to share any last thoughts or anything that you would like to communicate with all the incredible people that are listening right now who resonate with you, with what you do, with what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. The one thing that I always bring up in all of my presentations and including in my coaching sessions is it's just a little tidbit, of information. But I'm a big believer that now more than ever, there is a paradigm shift happening relative to wealth or our wealth mindset. And the one thing that I'll share with everyone was, and it wasn't even that long ago that I heard this myself. I was listening in on, one of those telesummits. And, one of the presenters had asked the question, does anyone know what the original definition of wealth is? And I'm sitting there listening saying, no, wow, I don't know. What's the original definition? It's money, right? No. Back in the 12th and 13th century, the original definition of wealth was happiness or path to happiness. And it was about somewhere along the 15th century that definition was changed to the accumulation of assets or the accumulation of materialistic possessions. So the good news, with that is that if we had the ability back in the 15th century to change the definition of wealth, that means that we still have the same power, the same capacity to redefine or reframe the meaning of wealth to fit who we are today and who we want to be.
That's very profound. And I'd just like to say that we do have the power to change that in our own lives, even if the rest of the world hasn't quite caught up yet.
Absolutely.
So, and there is the phenomena of the tipping point. And if you're a person who cares about the world and cares about consciousness, it's time to let go of the old paradigm that money is somehow bad or wrong or evil. Money just is. It's an exchange of time and energy and food and shelter and a means to live a life that is honoring and congruent for us, but only if we allow ourselves to shift out of those old money paradigms and the limitations and move into a state of empowerment in our lives using money as the tool and the resource that it is intended to be, as opposed to being the antichrist or the anti-consciousness that has been portrayed to us and projected onto us through media and government and religion and such. So what you're doing is you are enlightening people to have that conscious relationship with their money and to use it as a tool to create more abundance, more wealth, more well-being in life.
Right.
And I highly, highly encourage anyone who resonates with that to please go and learn more about Chris and what she does at thatmoneygirl.com. And with that, I guess we will wrap it up, and I just want to thank you so much for taking time to be with me today and to share all of your insight and your wisdom and your experiences with working with me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alicia, too. I'm so appreciative of you giving me this opportunity, to talk more about you and my experience with you, as well as what I do. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us today. I'm hoping you got some value out of that. And again, please go check out Chris and what she does at thatmoneygirl.com, and you can, of course, learn more about me at aliciacramercoaching.com.